His name is Gregory Scarpa, seen here in a 1986 police surveillance tape.
Law enforcement sources have identified him over the years as a capo regime, top lieutenant in the Colombo crime family.
Police sources claim Scarpa not only directed some of the mob killings, but committed at least 2 of the murders himself.
I will show them that, hey, this is still me. There isn't anything on earth that I will hide from or back up from.
Today I'm going to be speaking about Greg Scarpa, and more specifically, his time as an FBI informant, which began in 1961. The information he provided to the FBI is extensive, to say the least. I guess we can consider this video part 1. So with no further ado, let's take a look into Greg Scarpa, commonly known as the Grim Reaper. Greg Scarpa was officially added to the top echelon criminal informant program on November 21, 1961. J. Edgar Hoover created the program in 1961. Hoover instructed agents to develop sources in the upper echelon of organized crime, sources who could provide information in order for the government to fight the Mafia. Scarpa's criminal record dates back to September 1950 for possession of a weapon, followed by several arrests, including additional gun charges, consorting with criminals, interstate theft, possession of stolen goods, etc. The FBI first approached Scarpa on March 7, 1960, following his arrest for interstate theft. At the time, they were looking for his brother Salvatore, who was a fugitive, but Scarpa wouldn't volunteer any information. They paid him another visit in August of 1961, during which time the Gallo-Profaci war was in full swing. Agents made 3 visits to Scarpa, and although they noted he was friendly, he provided no information. They left a business card with him, as is their custom. 2 months later, in October 1961, Scarpa contacted them. And although he wasn't added to their program until November 1961, he was an unofficial informant as soon as he contacted the FBI. Within a week, Scarpa provided information regarding 2 stolen loads of cigarettes, one in Brooklyn and the other in Florida. As a result, both loads were recovered. He also began providing information on the Gallo-Profaci war and murders related to it. According to Scarpa, the conflict with the Gallos had gone too far for any type of resolution or reconciliation. He believed Profaci was too powerful and had a lot of support, and in his opinion, it was just a matter of time before the Gallos were killed. He said that initially, the Gallos were considered unfit for the mob, but politics came into play, and they were eventually inducted into the Profaci family. Shortly after their induction, the Gallos began to run wild and demanded more and more authority in the family, and according to Scarpa, this was the reason the Gallos were marked for death. On August 20th, 1961, Larry Gallo was lured to a meeting at the Sahara Lounge in Brooklyn, which resulted in him almost getting garroted to death. Scarpa explained to the FBI why a rope was used on Larry Gallo. At the time, there was a great deal of law enforcement heat, and they didn't want to use guns and leave bodies all over the Brooklyn streets. The plan was to make the Gallos and their crew all disappear. Had the hit on Larry Gallo gone according to plan, they would then call Joey Gallo to a meeting and dispose of him too. When the war first started, Carmine Persico tried to convince Scarpa to join the Gallo side, which he belonged to, before he switched sides and betrayed the Gallos. Scarpa declined the offer and remained on the Profaci side. On December 9, 1961, Scarpa notified the FBI about an order from Profaci where everyone was to stop hunting for the Gallo crew. Apparently, the Gallos were given 3 options, which was as follows. They could be out of the Profaci family and live peacefully, or come back to the family with guaranteed safety, but the safety of their crew was not guaranteed. And lastly, if they committed any further acts of violence, the Profaci family would retaliate not only on them and their crew, but their wives and children as well. I've never heard of women and children being threatened before. It's very surprising. And I wonder if the commission was aware of this and if they were in approval. It's always been my understanding that women and children were off limits. On April 9, 1962, Scarpa explained to the FBI the structure of the commission and named the commission members, which were Joe Profaci, Tommy Lucchese, Carlo Gambino, Vito Genovese, but he couldn't recall the 5th member, who was Joe Bonanno. Scarpa became a member of the Profaci family in 1951. By the time he started speaking to the FBI, he was a captain of a 10-man crew and required to kick up $150 a week to the Profaci administration. Scarpa requested $3,000 from the FBI and told them that he always needed to maintain the reputation of being a money man. He stressed that he was in bad financial shape to the point of pawning his watch and ring, as well as his wife's wedding ring. He explained that due to his relationship with the agents, he stopped participating in burglaries and other crimes. On July 1st, 1962, Scarpa informed the FBI of a leadership change in the Profaci family. The family's boss, Joe Profaci, had passed away on June 6, 1962. The family's underboss, Joseph Magliocco, would be stepping in as the new boss. During this time, Scarpa also provided the agents with a complete breakdown of who was who in all the 5 families. In September of 1962, Scarpa notified the FBI that the family's consigliere, Charles Lo Cicero, assigned him to hit Joseph Magliocco. Subsequently, he began casing Magliocco's Long Island estate. Naturally, this news set off alarms at the FBI. They allegedly put Scarpa on notice that he couldn't participate in the murder. According to Scarpa, he felt the reason Lo Cicero chose him for the hit was to test him, and it was also a power play. He added that the hit didn't have commission approval. One of the more interesting things Scarpa revealed was that his former number runner had owed him money. The runner went to Carmine Persico, who wanted to speak on his behalf. Magliocco instructed Scarpa to meet with Persico and see what he had to offer. It turns out, Persico offered that the number runner would make weekly payments on the money owed to Scarpa. But Scarpa disagreed and told Persico he wanted the money paid back in one lump sum. Persico requested more time to come up with the money. After some time went by, Persico requested additional time. Scarpa denied his request and threatened to kill the runner. But Persico told him he was staying with the runner 24 hours a day in order to protect him. Scarpa repeated Persico's words to Magliocco, who responded, "Let the son of a bitch," referring to Persico, "stay with," the name was redacted, 24 hours a day, as we will know where he is, and it will make it easier to kill him. Magliocco eventually interceded and instructed Persico to get the money owed to Scarpa. I found the story interesting because it's an example of you never know when you're dealing with a guy who could one day be your boss, as Persico would eventually become Scarpa's boss. On July 16, 1962, Scarpa informed the FBI that the Profaci family had placed 2 members in captain's positions. One was Sonny Francis and the other Joe Colombo. At the time, the Gallo situation was on temporary hold. The family was in fact trying to make peace. However, on August 25, 1962, Scarpa told the FBI that Larry Gallo sent a message to the Profaci family that the war would begin again. They responded by telling him to go ahead and start it up again, but offered to work things out if the Gallos wanted to. Scarpa continued to report on the dissension within the family, where Lo Cicero was desperately trying to replace Magliocco. Let me quickly mention the super thanks icon found beneath this video in the 3-dot dropdown. Placed there for anyone that wants to show support and appreciation for this podcast. Scarpa advised the FBI that a lot of the Gallo people had fallen under the protection of Carlo Gambino. It seemed from what Scarpa was hearing, Gambino was in the background and in support of removing Magliocco as boss. I'll end with an FBI memo regarding Greg Scarpa's cooperation. This source is furnishing excellent information from a position within the Italian criminal organization, particularly on progress in the realignment within the family, formerly headed by Joe Profaci. It is of particular interest that Lo Cicero is attempting to undermine Magliocco in hopes of taking over this family himself. It would appear that such a move, if successful, would place this source in the inner circle at the top operational level of one of the most important families in the above organization. As such, this situation should be followed very closely. In view of the possibilities of the above situation, and in consideration that this source, because of his position within Cosa Nostra, spelled incorrectly, is of extreme value to our program, you should take meticulous care in maintaining the informant's security. You should carefully weigh the value of this source in the top-level criminal intelligence field in considering any arrangement which might possibly jeopardize the informant's security for short-term gain. The value of this source is such that it would be extremely difficult to justify placing him in a situation whereby his position would be jeopardized for comparatively minor accomplishment. You should give constant consideration to the above in handling this informant.